Welcome to the Inside Silverstone podcast, a business-focused podcast covering all things tech, engineering and innovation. Hosted by me, Chris Broome, a huge tech, motorsport and gaming fan, and also the owner of Longhurst, a firm of lifestyle financial planners and independent financial advisors located in Silverstone, Northamptonshire. This is a series of unscripted and unpolished conversations with leading business owners, thought leaders and high-tech talent where we discuss their experiences within the Silverstone business and motorsport region. We will also be asking them to share their knowledge, insight and their thoughts on the future just for you. If you're looking to learn more about the Silverstone high growth region and commercially connect with like-minded peers, you've definitely come to the right place. Welcome to Inside Silverstone. Welcome to the next episode of Inside Silverstone. My name is Chris Broome and I am your host. Today I am delighted to finally welcome to the podcast Sally Povolotsky, aka Sally P. Sally, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Sally, I'm very excited about this podcast. It's taken me about 2 months to finally pin you down. You're a very, very busy lady and we'll find out why in due course. It is normal for me to quickly go through our guests' sort of work, career, CV, education piece, if that's okay. Again, as I always say, I've grabbed all of this offline. So
it's all a lie then.
All a lie. LinkedIn,
Don't open that
Google.
closet.
Exactly. So what I'll do, if I run through it, if there's anything that I've missed, let me know. If I pronounce anything incorrectly, do say. So if we start with education, so education sort of began with a degree from University of Sunderland in physiology and genetics.
Yeah.
And then over the years, you've went to London Business School and did brand management and behaviour, Sterling Power Training to do senior authorised person electric vehicles, University of London, managing the Company of the Future programme, and a diploma in social media marketing and e-commerce.
Yeah.
You also volunteer, so CEO, which stands for Chief Events Organiser, which I love, at something called the 100 Hatters. So just quickly, what's 100 Hatters?
So it's just a community based in our village, just events and stuff, and it sort of then has sort of evolved from that and sort of part of the Parent Teacher Association. Cool. I think they always say if you want something done, give it to a busy person. So and it's, you know, it's part of the community that I live in, and I don't feel like I spend enough in my house as it is, so it's nice to connect with the community when I can. Good,
excellent. Volunteer work wise, you also are a STEM engineer volunteer at the St Brennan School in Didcot, and within the Silverstone Technology Cluster, where you're a member of, as am I, and we'll talk about that in a bit. You're also a committee member within the special interest groups that exist here.
Yeah, for ASSA, so autonomy, connected, electrified and shared vehicles.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Career wise, there's a bit here, so I'll just whiz through it, but in a nutshell, have worked as director automotive for an organisation called Mammoth 4x4 Trading.
That was my own company.
That was your own company? Yep. Great. Ops manager for All Makes Limited, sort of partner of Land Rover. International sales manager for Front Runner Vehicle Outfitters. Special projects manager for Jaguar Land Rover, which we're just talking about off air. Commercial director at JRM Group, and most recently vehicle development director, which is your current role for Uniti electric car, which we're definitely going to talk about in a second. Cool. You're also a self-employed sort of automotive consultant, so you are the lady to go to for all things automotive, all things electric cars, etc., etc.
Apparently so.
Your nickname is Marmite, which we'll come on to in a bit as well. I think I'm a little bit Marmite as well, so that's fine. We share that together. Fascinating. I was listening to you did a presentation for the Unity electric car launch last week, which we'll talk about in due course. But I remember listening and hearing what your first ever word was. So what was your first ever word?
Volvo.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. So it's I don't know if my dad's lying to me or if it's true, but it's as a child of the 70s, I think my mum was quite obsessed with like a Volvo estate, the sort of, I suppose, aspiring middle class Stepford wife kind of thing.
Sure.
And I think I probably just heard it a lot in the womb and when I was very small. And apparently that was my first one, followed by dad. So I think my mum was pretty hacked off.
Yeah.
It wasn't mum.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty good use of, consonants and vowels, to be fair.
Indeed. Very, very good. And a safe word, safe car.
Very safe car, yeah. And we did get one. And we have many a happy holiday in Wales in it.
There we are. There we are. Right. So, premise of the interview, Sally, is to sort of talk about business that you're involved with, and then to talk about the business community that we're part of here at Silverstone, and then the bit that most of the guests hate, this is where they sink in their chair a little bit, is when we sort of talk about you and sort of your background and genesis for why you do what you do. And you're pulling a face at me now, but that's fine. We will be good. Right, so let's start with business. And so last week saw a very, very big launch. So last week would have been sort of latter part of October 2018. Saw the sort of UK launch of Uniti. Mm-hmm. So for those that aren't aware of Uniti, who've never heard of it before, or want to know a bit more about it, what are they, what do they do, and what's your involvement?
So Uniti is a company based in Sweden. Mm-hmm. It sprang out of a project to look at mobility of the future. So what would be the next type of mobility solution in cities? We're not at the position we're going to get people out of cars. Mm-hmm. That's a big culture shift. That paradigm is going to take a long time to get through, a couple of generations. So how can you put sustainable transport in cities where you can actually thoughtfully make real change? Mm-hmm. So and that's where Uniti came in. So Uniti created what we call like a mega city car. It's a 1.2 person. The 0.2 does also fit me, so I think it's like a 2-person, but it's like a 1+1. So you're central seated in a small electric vehicle. But the whole premise behind it's not so much about the vehicle. The vehicle is just one part of the Uniti solution. The bigger solution is more about mobility as a service, changing cultures, changing the way we think, use vehicles, and where we use them in our lives, and how we think about what we do every day. I just had a really interesting 2 hours with an 11-year-old, a lovely young girl called Charlotte, who's been going around Solihull putting little notes on electric vehicles, thanking them for not polluting the air that she's breathing, and is seriously concerned about pollutants, as we all should be. 500,000 plus people a year dying, directly contributed towards air pollution, and many, many more. And air pollution is the bigger cause of death than cancer. So we have to take it seriously.
It really?
Yeah. It's just big numbers. Yeah. So it's kind of, we have to rethink about what we do, what we breathe, and what we're passing on. And the IPCC just said we have 12 years to reverse the effects of things that we've done, or there is no going back. So you might as well ring Elon or Branson and book your flight to whatever planet we're going to go and destroy next. The impact of our lives over the last 20, 30, 40 years, I mean, you've only got to see the plastic mountains and islands. That's not been caused in the last 12 months. That's decades and decades of build-up. And eventually you can't build up anymore. The pollution is all around us, and when we're killing our own home. And we're not swampies, we're not up trees waving flags going, we're so green, we should all be vegans. That's not what this is about. This is about taking very clever individuals, people that have all come from different walks of life, to come up with a solution that works from cradle to grave. This is not just take a car and electrify it and that will solve all the problems. That's not going to solve the problem. It's the entire 360 of everything around that. And that's what Uniti does. So it's looking at the whole world problem and how can we put sustainable choices in using the technologies and the vessels that we're creating to make global shift. Which just sounded really huge.
Yeah, massive. I was just going to say,
in 2 years. I might rethink that.
But how are you going to do it? So conceptually, what is it? So Uniti is...
So currently it's Uniti 1, which is a small, like a mega city car. The whole idea is that if you look at research and numbers, the average number of people in a car is 1.2. And, if you look at the average range of short journeys and things like that, then, you need something that is purposely for city-based use. So not just for consumers, but also for business and industry, obviously careers, healthcare workers, people that are having to do regular short journeys who need a vehicle. Not everybody can use public transport. If you have a mobility issue, public transport is pretty much a write-off in London, because you have to travel about 20 stops to try and find a lift and go 20 stops the other way. So, and the shift in the city is changing. We know with the emission zones, congestion charge zones, now obviously with London, taxis electrifying, again, all great businesses that are within an hour of here. People like Arrival looking at, things for Royal Mail and UPS with electric trucks and vans. So the Uniti is meant to be the transport for those shorter journeys in a city. Okay. But through, obviously, our generation always wants to own, but then looking at other generations and shared services and how can you just get a car? How can you just get from A to B? Then where does the car go from point B if you leave it there? So not like these scooters that are being thrown in hedges or abandoned Boris bikes, but the car intellectually takes itself back to a point, either a point of charge or to the next user.
And it do that automatically?
Yeah. Eventually.
Yeah.
So once full autonomy is fully legislated, but we are package protecting for all of that. So we're ready to go when it's fully legal.
And what's your role with Uniti?
So I'm the vehicle development director.
Okay.
So all the fantastic styling and high level research has all been done in Sweden. Sweden will always be our home of our marketing, our brand, our styling, the sort of vision of the cycle plan of vehicles. The UK is now our research and development site.
And so that was the big news last week.
It was, yeah.
That was all over sort of BBC and clearly locally. So what was the decision? So Uniti had decided to do what within Silverstone?
So we are moving or starting all of our engineering, research and development is all being done here within the cluster on the park. Yeah. And we will be building a 76,000 square foot pilot production plant over the road, just by where Rob's just building his wind tunnel. So that piece of land, as you just go over the roundabout on the left before you hit David Brown, that is earmarked for Uniti's pilot production plant.
An ideal time window for that? When will that all start, do you think?
Soon. Yeah. So it's who knew building a building was so complicated?
Sure.
But, luckily we have Roz and her team. But it's so we're in the process of doing all the legals and looking at what we want the building to be. Yeah. Because obviously it has to reflect our needs as well as our philosophy. So we want it to be as sustainable as possible. Yeah. So we're in those sort of high level talks at the moment. Hopefully, maybe April time we'll all go out and get a shovel and start digging, and I think it's about 12 months until the shell is ready to go. Okay. Our fit out is fairly simplistic. It's great. The way that we're building our cars is what we call a cell matrix production. Okay. So that's all fairly easy to fit out.
What's that mean? Explain that to me.
So imagine a piece of paper, a square piece of paper. In each corner is a robot. And then imagine a little platform we call an AGV. The little AGV comes along with the bit, or whatever the bit might be. It might be, the chassis, the powertrain, whatever that role is. It brings it to that matrix. That matrix does a role. That matrix could do everything from building a whole car to doing a section. So it may be laying the body on. It may be, putting all the wiring in for the powertrain. It might be fitting the glazing, whatever it is. And the little AGV takes the car on its journey to the end of its production.
Easy as that.
Yeah. And the nice thing about these matrices is you can expand. We're based on a digital twinning principle. Is you can expand the number of cells, so each one of those squares is a cell, to your demand. So initially we might just have one cell that does everything. So that one cell will build an entire car. Then it might take a few hours. And then as we grow and we need more production, then each cell can do an individual element, and then you get what we call the tack time, so the build time, down to about 4 minutes per car.
Wow. True story.
Yeah. If you go to any car manufacturer, even on what we call a line build, where it just goes down a process on a line, you're building cars in sub 6 minutes.
Okay, and
building's probably the wrong word. Assembling.
Yeah. And so let's go back to what this is and how it's going to be sort of helping us from a sort of community perspective. So we're thinking initially sort of city-based, solution.
That's the Uniti one.
That's the Uniti one.
Yep.
So this is going to be where potentially, the next generation who currently don't own cars at the moment, and so aren't anchored, as you said, on being a generation of car ownership,
or brand obsessed,
or
aspiring to own a Ferrari or a Lotus, or whatever.
Will people not ever aspire to have that sort of thing? Do you think? There must be.
I don't know. I mean, I've got a 7 and 14-year-old, and I talk to them all the time, and they've grown up around a lot of different cars.
Sure.
Nope.
Not interested.
Nope.
Fine. And so Uniti
it's
1.
Really not a thing.
So Uniti 1 then. So this would be. So you would own it. So let's pretend I'm a younger version of Chris Broome in the future. So but I want to be mobile in the city. How would the Uniti 1 help me? How would I get access to it?
So it depends where the technology goes in the future. So one of the things that we've been playing with is chips.
Okay.
So our CEO and a few other people in the team have been microchipped.
Okay.
I haven't quite braved that one yet.
Oh, really?
So there's different ways. So all the way from your phone being your access to the vehicle.
Okay.
So same as you would do for any other type of car sharing or renting a bike, you could contactless, with an app, find your nearest vehicle, either go to it, or obviously when it becomes fully autonomous, it comes to you. It's self-aware, it's AI, it knows when it needs to charge. The great thing about technology now is obviously you could be at a point, so as long as you're organised and you organise your phone, so your diary, for example, so it'll pull your meetings or where you need to be out of your Gmail or another associated mail provider, it will pre-plan your journey for you. So you could get into it and it'd go, hey Chris, how you doing? Maybe, something like that. So just to check, I've just connected to your iPhone X. So we're going to Silverstone Park Innovation Centre. Is that correct? And you just go, yes. And he goes, okay, sit back, enjoy.
Yeah, thanks, you. Easy as that.
Yep. You might have to drive it for a few years first.
Sure.
But the whole point is it'll all pre-map itself, etc. But eventually it will take you where you need to be. And the AI involved in the vehicle means that it can plan journeys. You can pre-connect to it in advance, you could book slots, if you're a bit paranoid about a car not being available. You may decide to share one within the community you live. We're hoping to start some of that early research here. So we'll have a few share hubs here at Silverstone Park. We'll geo-fence the area where we are so that we can do a protective study.
What's geo-fence mean?
So when you get to autonomy, you want to create a invisible fence.
Okay.
So I try and akin it to shopping trolleys.
Okay.
So you get a shopping trolley, but you couldn't get a parking space in the car park. You've got one maybe in Home Bargains next door. And then when you get to the end of the parameter for the Sainsbury's car park or other supermarkets, your wheels lock up.
Okay. Right.
So you can't get out of that area and steal that trolley and throw it in a canal.
Got it.
Yeah. So the idea with geo-fencing, so if you look a lot of it, autonomy trials, they are geo-fencing the cars in. So once you go past that fence, it reverts back to a level 2 vehicle where you have to be in control of the car. So, and we're already developing that in the UK, and that's one of the biggest reasons, amongst the other million of them for being here, is that, places like Millbrook, and you've got the Oxford, Milton Keynes, Cambridge corridor, all that testbed stuff, Faraday, Innovate, Meridian, all that technology that's being developed is being developed here, which is hugely exciting.
So that's the reason why Unity, with your support, said, let's come to Silverstone Parks, to the region. Yeah,
so I've been given the tightest timeline of development.
Yeah.
And the only way I'm going to develop that is to be around innovative companies. So specialists in lightweighting, in battery development, with a forward-thinking government that are, embracing this advancement in technology through funding, support. There is so many cool little projects that, as I said, like Innovate, Meridian, all these guys, the catalysts, not catalysts, catapults, aren't they?
Catapult,
are developing. We can access all of that. And because there's no point approaching this like a normal car manufacturer. We don't want to approach it with so I've got Car A. Car A hasn't quite yet amortized its platform and made its money back, so let's just make it EV.
Right.
That doesn't change the world. That doesn't change the way we think, use, embrace technology. And the electrified car movement, the shared car movement, the autonomy car movement is so much greater than just that car, that thing. I was talking to Charlotte and her dad just now, and we were talking about journey planning, because one of the things that he said to us, he went, we were explaining how we cool the battery. So we're working with Daneka, who are based here on the park.
Okay. They're battery developers?
Yeah, so battery designers, and we go back to old companies working all together.
Sure.
So they're brilliant. And we said, no, we're not doing anything overcomplicated with cooling. We are just using a very simple cooling system, very simple cooling technique. We know that it works. Therefore, we know we've got longevity. And we want to keep the price point of the car for people who want to buy it really low. So we'd rather invest in really good technology, which enhances your user experience, than reinvent some technology that isn't broken. Because he then asked the question and said, well, but what if I want a fast charge? And it's like, well, the thing is with, he's like, what if I change my journey? What if I suddenly want to do a 150-mile run somewhere and whatever? It's like, well, the difference is we all have to, in order for all this to work, right, this whole, autonomy, electrified, shared, we all have to change the way we work. We all have to change the way we live. So I said to him, it's a bit like, so I had a Model X for a week, which was really hard to give back, because it dances and everything, and I loved it. But it has got a massive price tag. But it was really cool being part of the Tesla RT, and it was really cool using superchargers. But I changed the way that I travelled that week. I wasn't rushing anywhere. I was just like, you know what? I'll get there when I get there. And I'm going to plan my day so I can make sure that I can nip to the Oxford service on the way home and use a supercharger, because then, I'm kind of going to get a battery full for the price of a latte, which is always good. Yeah. I'm forced to stop. Breathe, think, 45 minutes to an hour. That's a good thing. Yeah. That is something we should all embrace. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it's not, we shouldn't have to be rushing anywhere. And it's like, if you look at all this modern society stuff, so if you not just issues with health because of pollutants, but hypertension, stress, all the, what they used to call it, like yuppie flu, all this stuff that we've created through pushing ourselves. Yeah. To a limit we don't need to push. So if we just take a step back and think about what we do every day, why we do it, how we do it. Employers need to think about where people work, how they work, how they're going to get to work, how can they minimise their impact and their responsibility as an employer of people coming to work, from work, etc. And I think, and that's where the whole thing about working for a new, disruptive, innovative car company, or we prefer to be called like a tech company, gets really exciting. Yeah. I work from home when I want to. I'll go visit suppliers. I might be a bit late, but what's the stress? We can use, we were just talking earlier about, apps. There are so many apps to connect. We use apps like Slack to communicate. So I permanently feel like the team are here. I don't feel like they're in Sweden. WhatsApp, Google Hangouts, all this stuff. Nothing. We need to change the way we move around. We need to stop all this high impact travel. You do not need to do a 400 or 500 mile journey every day. That is not good for your health, let alone the environment.
No, you're right. One of our colleagues lives in Cyprus. Another team member lives in the States for what she delivers to the business. Yep. And so you're right. I probably speak and see them more frequently, even though I'm not sat in the same room as them.
Than you probably would in an office.
Correct. Yeah, because I'm using obviously a number of bits of tech to speak and see them. So I agree. And so. Okay, and so Unity, a part of that evolution and revolution.
Yeah, and it is literally to really think about everything we do and why we do it. So we're not just going to make mobility services and cars for the sake of it. They have to fit with where there's a need and a demand, and that reflects also in our manufacturing philosophy. So we're not going to make all the cars here and ship them around the world. That completely counteracts making an electric vehicle in the first place, because by the time you've counted all that pollutant to get it to wherever, it's the minute you can't fly lithium ion, we'll have to go by big ships and containers. So we're using a digital twinning technique. So the idea is we design a car. So the easy way to explain is like a piece of tracing paper. So draw a car with its hundreds of components, so draw it comprehensively. You package all that up, so obviously it's all in CAD, and then you literally trace it. You take like a digital imprint of it. So then you've got two cars. So literally digital twinning is just take your data and then be able to use it and manipulate it for whatever you want to do, but you've always got the master. When it comes to manufacturing is same thing. So you We create a factory in a box. And then I kind of akin it to a McDonald's franchise. So if you were in, I don't know, Cyprus, and with our team's help, you'd realise that actually you could sell 2,500 Uniti vehicles every year in Cyprus. And there's a business there for you, and you want to be part of that model. We effectively sell you a factory in a box. We tell you how to build it, how many of those cells you need to make that many cars a year. We help you get all that set up. You're using our global supply chain. Our imprint of our car is programmed into the robots. Off you go, make your cars. And they're made in country. It's a bit, but yeah.
Ah, wow.
But it makes a huge amount of sense.
It makes loads of sense.
Yeah. Like, why would you... So back in the day, many years ago, we used to do a thing called CKD, so country knockdown. So there were some countries where you wouldn't sell a whole car. You wouldn't send a whole car out because of tax. So you knocked it down.
Yeah.
Nicer tax. Rebuilt it back in the country. And effectively, that's what we're doing. We're just not building it first. So we'll do lots of turnkey to make it as simple as possible. Because there's a lot of safety features where you don't want countries or franchises maybe playing around with, so that we keep an easy audit. We'll have a small team that's a Unity team in each place, obviously supporting that
and keeping an eye on the quality of it. Yeah. But
we can keep an eye on everything, because the nice thing about the robots is we get constant feedback. So we'll be analysing every head on every robot in every factory every minute of every day. If there's a slight deviation, we shut it down. So we always have control. It's like 1984, isn't it, all over again?
It's brilliant. Honestly, that's why I wanted you on the podcast, Sally. I was like, mind
just
is
press
blown.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not saying I'm going to know anything about how to do that, but I'm going to recruit an amazing team that know how to do all of this.
And what do you think? What are the challenges ahead? What do you think the biggest challenges, biggest hurdles?
So finance is always a big hurdle.
Okay, so you guys doing a fundraising campaign?
We're not fundraising. This is not throw the sponges at Sally in a big cardboard box. So we're crowdfunding.
Then I retract that statement.
So we are giving away equity. Not giving it away. You can pay for it. So there is an equity campaign going on.
Okay.
Because Unity wants to have as many people involved in its business as possible.
Okay.
So you can buy shares in the company. There's a certain allocation within the business that's available for the general public.
Okay.
That way we end up with fantastic minds and people whose hearts are all in the right place. We also take pre-orders. Yeah. So that's another way. Obviously, that's not money we use for anything. It's kept away safe because it's refundable.
Sure.
And then we're what's going through our Series A and then B funding.
Yeah.
So that's the big money.
Okay.
Which builds factories.
Sure.
So we whilst the digital twinning and the units in every country is great, we still have to do the first one of everything.
Indeed.
So, which is why we're doing it here, because we're surrounded by all the right people. So from construction companies to the robotics companies, big IT infrastructure, and people, because we're in motorsport kind of valley and stuff like that, you can say this stuff to people and they go, yeah, cool. Classic automotive, they go, no, you can never do it. It'll never happen.
Yeah.
So it's that nice yin and yang that we have experienced heads around us from the automotive world, but the ones that are a bit more disruptive and innovative, who want to challenge the way things are done. And then we have that great world of motorsport and technology, obviously between Oxfordshire here and then going through to tech and biotech in Cambridge. There's lots of biotech that'll be in this car, from sensors, fingerprints, all that kind of stuff. And everyone's here that will help us achieve our goal. And there's lots of people out there that have amazing tech but never get a chance to really put it on anything, because for a lot of companies that's too risky. Yeah, we eat risk for breakfast. So it's just like, let's do it, let's give it a go.
And so you're talking about obviously Cambridge and Oxford and obviously where we are. So this is the super cluster that as Ros calls it. And so
it's evolving
into the super cluster. And so let's talk about Silverstone Park and Silverstone Technology Cluster. So you are and Unity are now part of the community. You've been here obviously for a while.
Yeah, since the beginning.
Since the beginning.
Dun, dun.
Good for the region. Good for the businesses.
Yeah, I mean, you have to collaborate.
Yeah.
With no collaboration, we just become stagnant and die. It's like my little saying of disrupt or die. You've got to talk to people, because you never know what you might discover. So last night I was at an awards dinner in London, and I was sat on the same table as another but bigger Chinese-based disruptive EV company, and you would not have the conversation that we had, having maybe a VW and a BMW sat next to each other, or a Aston and a Nissan, or it was open, and we're all facing the same challenges. We're all doing things for the same reasons. We're all funded slightly differently, but our pathways are all in the same way, and we're not in competition, because they do a product we don't aspire to do. We do a product that's not on their path.
Surely you can support each other.
Yeah, but we could share a charging infrastructure, or technology, or outcomes of things. So obviously they're a bit further down the line from us. We can share what worked, what didn't work, and it resulted in, the next step is an invite down to their London head office, have a chat, and see how we can all help each other.
Cool.
And that's the way it should be. And that's what I've loved about being part of the technology cluster is, in previous roles where I've looked for interesting things or suppliers, it's always been a real trawl. You get on Google, you send a few grads out to check people out. This is great. You just go on the cluster website and just look at all the different things and just make a phone call and go, hi, found you on the cluster website. We have a chat. Yeah, it's like when I go back to Daneka in a minute, I've got 2 other people to ring on the park. Just want them to come over and have a little look at the vehicle, because the static display model's here, and to ask them about things I know they're specialists in, and just see if they want to be part of the team. And it doesn't have to be a big, formal, nasty, horrid, organised thing. It's just hey, have you got 10 minutes? Do you want to just go and have a look at the car? I've got this conundrum on this bit, and I think you might have a solution. Do you want to have a chat?
Yeah.
And everyone benefits. And the obviously the access SIG is really close to my heart, and it's
So let's talk about that special interest group. So this is so for those that
for people that don't do abbreviations.
Yeah. So what is a special interest group within the STC? So what is that for people that aren't aware?
So it's sort of little mini clusters. So we have a super cluster, a cluster, and a mini cluster, and it's sort of clusters of people that obviously operate in a certain niche field. So I think there's a CAD related one, isn't there? There's now an additive manufacturing one, and we've got I said ASSIS, or autonomous connected, electrified and shared.
I'm even talking to Pim about putting together a professional advisor one, where where the lawyers and accountants and bankers and financial teams and everyone else gets together to talk about how we can help all the businesses on site solve their problems. And
there's a nice organic one that has kind of been created out of the STC, which I always go to as a obviously with Barclays sort of at the top of that tree, and with Grant Thornton, Tollers and stuff like that. And I think, because I definitely want to have a chat with you about your services afterwards, because I've been looking at it and think I should probably grow up and be a bit more responsible. So special interest group. So mini cluster inside the bigger cluster, and so our committee is made up of 4 of us. All come from slightly different. We took different responsibilities under the letters. So I started with autonomous, but I'm trying to switch to electrified. But then I might try and nudge out shared and see if I can swap with autonomous with him, because I kind of need to do a lot of learning on the areas that are weaker to me. So we basically look at events. So we did our first event in March, and our second event is on the 7th of November. At Grant Thornton's place in Milton Keynes.
Yeah, I'm coming to that first thing in the morning.
Cool.
Yeah.
Apparently I'm giving a talk.
So you are. Yeah.
Need to sort that out. We must practice. And basically, it's just a chance to look at the trends, the funding, and all that sort of infrastructure around that rapid growth area, and then how we can make sure that all of our members within the cluster either benefit from it or get audiences with the bigger picture. So, for example, wearing a different hat, I get to stand up in front of the group as Sally from Uniti and go, I need supply chain, so what have you all got?
Yeah.
So, and that is my primary purpose for this next. It's a bit of a speed dating event.
Yeah.
So a chance for people to show their wares, have a chat with each other, open a few Pandora's boxes, see who's got what, and then how can we all share that technology and prove it out in some ways. So, can I take a bunch of suppliers within the cluster who probably wouldn't have talked or walked or shared technology before? We all share together to create one thing. That one thing can go on my car. We prove it out. Then they've got a solution they can go and sell to whoever, or license it to me, or whatever.
There it is.
So it's great, and there's lots more of that to come.
And so for business owners and folk who aren't part of Silverstone Park and aren't part of the Silverstone Technology Cluster but are listening to this podcast, in sort of one sentence, if you could, in a nutshell, why should they consider either moving here from a business perspective or looking inside to potentially collaborate?
I think the moving here is always a difficult one.
Sure.
And I've met quite a few people now where it just didn't make sense for their business, either because they got very niche talent, and then trying to relocate that talent becomes difficult. And that's a personal choice thing.
Sure.
As a park and with MEPC's vision, it's what suits our philosophy as Uniti. But we're starting from scratch. So we can kind of put ourselves anywhere. And we kind of need to be here to get the talent we want. More established businesses may find it difficult to move. But the thing that is exciting about the Innovation Centre where we're sat now is you can pick a mix. So it gives you, if you just wanted to move some senior leaders into somewhere where it was more central for meetings, makes more sense, then obviously this is perfect without the big labour of having a bigger unit, longer term commitment, etc. The cluster is just really simple. If you want to expand your network and your worth as your business and share and collaborate, then I can't see why you wouldn't want to be a member, because it makes the most amount of sense. I've met probably 90% of the network I deal with all the time in the last 18 months through the cluster.
There it is.
Why wouldn't you? And if you do, then obviously tell Pim that I recommend you something.
Absolutely.
I want a free T-shirt or a pen.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm not sure Pim's going to give us anything for free, but
we do get lots of free tea and coffee.
This is true, and the occasional beer. He bought me dinner the other evening as well. So
I've never had dinner, Pim. Just saying.
Okay, just saying. Hashtag. Saying, And hopefully stuff like this podcast, isn't it? Is helping to connect, other thought leaders and business owners on site who might not have actually spoken to or really known a great deal even about yourself. And hopefully this can be used as a sort of useful medium.
I think it's a really positive thing, because one of the things is you see lots of these little networking groups, right? And there's a few that I've been a part of in the past. They're a bit draconian. It's like, who wants to go for a breakfast meeting?
Agreed, at 7 o'clock in the morning.
7 o'clock.
And eat bacon sandwiches. I don't want to have bacon sandwiches with you at that time in the morning, Sally. We'll go for a beer after work.
It's just that
doesn't work
excludes
anymore.
So many people.
Sure.
I'm still trying to drag a teenager out of bed at that time in the morning and feed a dog and juggle another child, and it's just
and the cat.
the cat's pretty self-sustained, to be fair.
Sure.
But try not to tread in whatever it's left me from the night before.
Nice.
But it's kind of it's just mental. Like, why would you do a breakfast meeting and then lunch meetings? And then you have to travel to them. And then when you suggest to people, hey, why don't we just set up like a Google Hangout and we'll all just let's pick a theme and let's all have a chat. Oh, I don't know about that. Well, you can just download it on your phone. It's like 2 seconds. Get the app. We can all chat.
Yeah, that's free.
It's free. Yeah, exactly. You can eat your own sandwich at your own desk. It's not disruptive to your day. And everything they're all so formal. I met some of the most boring people I never want to meet ever again at breakfast meeting. I went to about 8, and it was nothing was good about it. I can't. Whereas the cluster stuff is, some of it's organic and people have sort of carried on conversations afterwards, and then they get their own little thing going. And then obviously at the park there's kind of the stuff that Ruth organises, the sort of more community-based stuff. You can kind of come to some of that, and that means you can meet other people doing planks in the park or whatever. And not being a plank like I would be, but just doing planks. And it's that kind of stuff. And it's like mobility. It's like how we work. Everything we do, we just need to rethink it. Like, we are going fishing.
Well, we've got to go fishing.
We are going to go fishing.
Yeah.
We're going to drag Dan.
Yeah, Dan's definitely going to come.
And if anyone else is up for fishing, then we're all game. So I'm hopeless.
There's a great lake, Lakeside Fisheries, and there are others clearly, but Lakeside Fisheries, which is just north of Toaster, near Greens Norton. So I go there every other sort of Friday afternoon.
Sounds perfect.
It's really
Nothing better for mindfulness than a bit of fishing.
Peace and quiet.
Yeah.
Turn the phone off.
Have a little chat.
Yeah.
It's nice and quiet.
Sit and gossip.
Love it.
Amazing.
I'm all up for that.
Right. We kind of neatly moved on to, or moving on to you. A little bit more about Sally. I know we're going to have a conversation about you very briefly. So we've done the academia bit, done the education bit, done the bit that you're clearly awesome because you like volunteering, which I love.
You've got to volunteer. Got to put back.
You've got to volunteer. Are you part of the Gaia Innovation piece?
Yeah, so I'm kind of, so I started going, I'm all in for all of it. My problem at the moment is time.
Yeah, sure.
So what I've said to each of the colleges is I'm happy to come in and do stuff.
Yeah.
But the structured bit for me might not quite work.
Yeah.
But like, so I just got an email about going and doing something at a careers evening and stuff like that. So those little things where maybe I can add, because I am female, and I think with a lot of the stuff with, encouraging, young women into engineering, science, technology, whatever.
Yeah, massively important.
Because I don't know, were you there at the initial?
Yeah. So I'm there. So I had an invitation yesterday I can't go to. They've given me 2 dates. I can't go to, unfortunately. But they want me to go.
Because how depressing was it when they put up slides saying how high the mental health issues were in schools?
Yeah, sure.
I was floored.
I didn't realise it was so high. And
I found myself going home and going to my son, "Are you all right?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine."
So, but imagine the good that we can do, and so that's why I immediately agreed to sign up to it, and I've said that I'm going to go in and talk about sort of entrepreneurialism, and also go and potentially talk about things like making mistakes and embracing making mistakes and stuff like that, and so to hopefully give them a bit of encouragement that if some of them aren't necessarily academically high and they might be failing exams, actually that doesn't matter. It's actually what you do next, and how you then react to that situation that's going to define you. And clearly, you going in and any other female entrepreneur going in and talking about and empowering these young ladies to say, actually, do you know what? Just grab it.
Stop reading the trashy magazines with the Photoshop Kardashians and just
get off social media, but it's impossible.
I tell you what, that is the I think the biggest. So technology is always a positive and a negative, right? That is the yin and the yang of innovation, right? There's always good and there's always bad. People will always find ways to make negatives out of a positive.
Sure.
Social media is the best and the worst thing that's ever happened to our society.
Agreed.
So I'll give you an example, right? So I put something on my social media, right? Somebody else interpreted it that it was about them, which then resulted in them not wanting to be my friend anymore, because it would appear that not only did they think that was about them, but then also there was I didn't like enough posts. That is not...
It's painful.
But it's not a measure of friendship.
It's painful.
A measure of friendship is the...
How many times you pick up the phone?
You can ring someone up or just turn up on their doorstep or leave a cake when you know they're having a bad time.
Sure.
Or whatever it is. And I think as you get older, I get more marmitey and I get less tolerant with things, and I think that's all right. And then eventually I'm going to become a grumpy old woman like out the twits, and it's all cool. But it's kind of like, if I think about how an adult reacted to that situation, you think about that situation if you're 12, 13, 14.
Huge.
And what impact that would have on their psychology, their well-being, feeling that someone's hating them or not, like waiting for some active visual response that someone's listening, looking and cares. It is so false. On the other side, I have friends all around the world who I was awfully bad at staying in touch with, and the social media is like, oh, there's so-and-so's, but oh my God, hasn't he grown? And oh, they're on holiday here, and there's a nice thing to it.
It's help connect you.
I don't care about what they're having for dinner.
Sure.
But there is a nice connection there. Do you know what I mean? But the negative is that
psychological impact, how
it's interpreted by people, and how they need that reaction. And then suicide pact groups on WhatsApp. One of our local schools has just suffered with that to the point it's gone into special measures and all sorts of things. And it's like, this is not good. And I think one of the things we have to be very aware of as leaders in innovation and people that are promoting active technology, especially as what we're doing with Uniti, is to make it as positive an experience as possible.
Yes.
Because without Alexa, I'd have had no toilet roll this morning, and that would really have ruined my day. Do you know
I do.
But
moving on.
No, but you can sit there. You can sit there and somebody go, oh, Alexa, order cat food. No problem. Done.
Sure.
It's there the next day.
Yeah.
Stuff like that for someone with a busy lifestyle. I love.
Priceless.
Yeah, but it's kind of like, but the negative to that is I found myself kind of watching my child literally having a full-on conversation with Alexa, thinking, why aren't you talking to me?
Yeah.
So there's it, and I think we are at this massive tipping point. And I think, that whole thing with the schools and what Margaret and the guys are all doing was shocking. I left that room. I think most of us left going, that was the biggest thing that stuck in. I can't remember how many kids they had or where their schools were. But the biggest thing is like, oh my God, like one of the schools was like 82% of the children have got or had some form of mental health concern.
Teenagers.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because it's all secondary. But then you think, and what are they rising year 6 into year 7? What is the impact at that point?
Yeah.
And a lot of it's to do with the education system, which I'm not a massive fan of, because we're teaching a post-war education to children that now need an education for the future. And the curriculum hasn't really changed to reflect creativity, innovation, disruption. It doesn't allow people to, or young people to be creative. You've got a structure and you just have to work within it. And I think they're just... As we drive innovation forward and as we drive technology forward, we have to make sure that all the times we're looking at the purpose of good for it, and try and get rid of as much negativity as possible. I think that is the key. And to recognise, I think one of the biggest things about recognising and being grateful for something and reflecting. And I think I didn't learn how to reflect until I was in my 30s.
Agreed.
And I think if that's something we can work with young people on very, very early on, to reflect, to download the negative, dump it out, and reflect on the good and move forward into a new day is really key.
100%. I do, and totally endorse that. That's the whole point and part of the principle behind talking to them about embracing mistakes is exactly that, to understand what's happened, why it's happened. Take it on the chin, pull your socks up, be grateful for that, because you won't make that mistake again, or if you do, it'll be less, and keep moving forward.
I make mistakes every day.
Agreed. Absolutely.
But if I don't, I'm not learning, am I?
There we are. Okay, right.
Guys, it's going to be a massive fishing trip, this one.
It's going to be a massive fishing trip. Right, 2 more questions, 3 more questions. Okay. We're coming to the end of the podcast.
Everyone's fallen asleep.
We're 45, no, they won't have fallen asleep. We're 45 minutes in. Right, okay, so 3 more questions.
Yeah.
So the question I always ask, and this is all about mistakes, so just following on from what we've just spoken about. So, professional mistakes. Have you got anything that's funny, that's embarrassing, but something that potentially was a sort of pivot moment that helped you reflect and be grateful, or just something that's downright stupid that we can share with our listeners about Sally?
I think I've got one of each.
Talk to me.
So downright stupid first.
Cool.
So I used to live in London. I used to have quite a high profile job and was flying to Dublin out of City Airport. So a car came, picked me up at stupid o'clock in the morning. I think my little one was 18 months at the time. Left, got on a plane, right? So went through passport control, got on a plane, got off at Dublin for, I don't know, it must have been 8 o'clock in the morning for a 9 o'clock meeting, right? Get to the man at passport control and he just went, that's funny. Went, what? A big queue behind me. That's funny. He said, where's your passport? I was like, that is my passport. He went, well, then Isle of Ulay's really worked well for you. I went, what? And it was my son's passport. So somehow I managed to get out of the UK on a plane to Dublin with my son's passport. And he went, I'll let you in for now, but you ain't getting back out later.
Oh, my God.
So then I had to fly my PA out with my passport.
That's a great story.
So now I have a specific travel wallet just for me with my name on it.
So you won't make that mistake again.
And I can't tell you how many times I check my passport before I go anywhere.
That's mad that they let you on the plane in the first place.
I know, and then I got really kind of reactionary about it because I was much younger and I was kind of going, well, hang on, but City Airport they should have stopped me there and all this. He went, yeah, we're going to have to investigate that. But,
Doesn't matter now.
You're here now. Yeah. And he was very lovely. He had a good bit of the old Irish crack went with it all. And it was quite funny. And I was laughing inside. Went off to my meeting. And then, but the good thing was I ended up in a very nice bar because I had to wait for someone to fly out with my passport. I had a couple of really nice pints of Guinness, which is the best in Dublin only. And that was my biggest mistake. And I think it's just about, I was obviously crappily prepared the night before, and it just shows you juggle all these things in your life, and sometimes you just have to take 5 minutes to make sure that you're ready for the next thing you have to do.
There we are. Sage advice.
So it was good, but never live that one down.
Is there anything, before we get into the last question, anything that I haven't asked you regarding yourself or Uniti that you just want to quickly air for the next couple of minutes whilst we've got you? No,
I think there is a lot of opportunity we've got within Uniti at the moment. I think if anyone wants to know anything more about it, then please do come and talk to me. If you've got an idea or someone you think would be great for the program, or a piece of innovation or tech that someone's working on that they just need an outlet or an audience, then I am always open to listening. And even if it's something that's not suitable for us right now, then the nice thing about doing what we do, especially within the cluster, is I know lots of other people that can maybe help take them to the next step or develop that product or idea a bit further.
Great. And presumably you can give us some hyperlinks and bits and bobs that we can include in the show notes if people want to find you or learn a bit more about Unity or some of the projects, etc. You can give us that.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
It's all right.
Last question. This is for me because I'm really selfish because I'm the show host. Especially because we resonate because we're both a little bit like Marmite, and I'm exactly the same on social media with you, just so you're aware. I deleted Facebook and I sort of removed people because I think, do you know what, it's just a lot of noise.
It's just white noise.
It's a lot of noise. What bit of advice could you give me? Something, life advice, something that you've learned along your young life, said with a smile.
I'm
all of you, Lay.
Yeah, and loads of it, combined with Chardonnay last night.
Yeah.
Being grateful. So a big part of my day is downloading and not drinking caffeine. I don't drink caffeine at all. If I did, I'd be dangerous. I mean, if I'm this hyper without caffeine.
Yeah, I think you'd be lethal.
So I have a gratitude diary. It's just a very small thing. I'll get you one. It's really cool. I used to write down 3 things I was grateful for every day, and now I just write one, but go into more detail. So just literally every day, what are you grateful for? And it could be the tiniest thing, like one of my children actually flushed the toilet. That's a big thing.
Happy days.
It's like, yes. Rather you shouting upstairs. My new IKEA sofa turned up yesterday, and it's being fitted at 4:00 today, so I'm really excited. It's the little things. So it's just about being grateful for something that's happened in your day. And I am eternally grateful to the park and the cluster for all the people that I've met and the people that add different levels of value to either my work life or my personal life. And people that I have that I sound off to or ask their opinion, and I know they'll give me a really honest black and white answer. And so being grateful, and I think it is the most important thing you can do. We should be grateful that every day we open our eyes and we're still here.
Agreed.
Because you don't know. And I've watched many great people that I've worked with over the years who aren't here anymore. I still kind of talk to them randomly, but it's, And I think that's the key. And everything. Because this is not all about work. Great. At the end of the day, this could all go wrong tomorrow. We could end up with like some crazy Zimbabwean currency and there's 7 squillion something to buy a cup of coffee. It could all change. We are not in control of any of that. All we are in control of is our own swim lane. And that is up to you how you make that work for you. Don't let anybody else tell you differently. Don't let anybody else tell you you're something wrong. Make your own mistakes. Learn from your mistakes. Reflect from them. And be grateful. And that is it.
Boom.
Yeah.
Sally, it's taken 2 months to get you on the podcast and I'm delighted. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're very welcome.
I want you back on 100%. Let's get you back on in a year's time, see what's going on with Unity.
You might be dragging me over the road or I'll be on my knees by then.
No, man, we'll get you back on. And in the meantime, let's go fishing.
Yeah,
let's go for a beer. That gratitude book sounds great. When do you complete that? Do you do that at the end of the day?
Yeah, so I normally do it at the end of the day, and then if I have like a really late night, then I'll make sure I just do it in the morning, like just sort of reflect on what I did the day before. But it's like Halloween, right? So what my reflection of Halloween was, so what was I grateful for? And I was grateful for the light, because actually everything went dark, and the kids were all giggling. And I'm not a massive fan of Hallmark holidays, but the community came out. I saw faces I haven't seen for a year. There was excitement. My whole patio was full of twinkly lights. And it was just beautiful. Every time I opened the door, it's crazy witches, warlocks, clowns, whatever, But there was light. There was light coming from them. There was light all around them. And it's just it's a lovely thing.
And loads of sweets.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be hyper for a long time.
Yeah, I thought it was all about for us.
Oh my God, I didn't get any. But I stayed at home and the kids went out because I live on sort of the trick or treat pathway. Right. And I did do one year where I just left the bucket out and said help yourself, and I think just one kid just helped himself or herself to everything. Yeah, so now I have to distribute accordingly fairly.
But you're grateful still.
But yeah, you have to be grateful, and it's that lights up your life.
Sally, that's it.
Move over, Oprah.
We are done. Right. Look, as I said, I want you back on in the year. Anything happens with Unity, you think actually I want to shout about it down the podcast, let me know and we'll get you on beforehand.
Cool.
But thank you. And I look forward to speaking to you very, very soon.
Thank you very much.
Cool. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
The Inside Silverstone podcast is produced by the team at Longhurst for the benefit of those with a passion for all things tech, engineering and innovation. For more information, please visit longhurst.co.uk/Inside Silverstone, whilst also remembering to give us a 5 out of 5 star rating on iTunes. Please note that neither Chris Broome or Longhurst work for Silverstone Park, Silverstone Circuit or Silverstone Technology Cluster.